funny how close these conference final games are. You could easily make the argument, hey, these series should be like 2-2 or 2-1. But in hindsight, when we look back at these conference finals, all you're going to remember is, hey, it was a sweep. Hey, it only took 5 games, right? Because the devil is in the details. And we only remember the big picture stuff. But if you go back through the history of these playoff games, this is what it looks like, where you're like, oh, they could have stole this, could have, should have, would have, and it doesn't happen, right? And when the series started, Mavs, Wolves, I had said, hey, man, Luka's almost in his final form here. We're witnessing Luka Doncic at the peak of his powers. Meanwhile, young Anthony Edwards is still learning to use his powers. And that's what you're seeing play out in this Wolves Mavericks Western Conference Finals. You see the thumbnail, right? It's chess, not checkers. And you see this most of all in the different way that Luka and Ant handle these traps, these blitzes, and these double teams. And Luka is so experienced at dealing with it, while Ant, it's a steep learning curve that he's going through on the biggest stage, right? And with Luka, you see this methodical rhythm with his dribble, right? When you envision Luka dribbling the ball, it's almost at half the pace, the rate of Ant's dribble, like the literal dribbles that we're counting, right? It's that slow pound dribble that's buying him time to make the reads and manipulate the help defense. And then the other part about it is his eyes, right? He's almost never looking where he wants to go with the ball. So he's manipulating the rotation and he's buying himself time framing off the ball with that big body, right? And he does it on his time, right? Because it's the way he invites the trap. Where Ant, sometimes he's waiting too long, and then it's almost as if he thinks he's going to attack. His instinct is to come off the screen and attack and get downhill, and then he's like, oh yeah, it's a trap, right? And then he speeds up and he gets into that quick dribble. It's very hard to play with pace and make smooth decisions. Once your dribble is sped up, the rest of your game is going to get sped up. And that's a sign you're seeing with Ant. And some of it is the give and take, like his natural explosion in athleticism. When he does turn the corner and get downhill, his window of time to make a decision is much smaller than Luka because he's moving so much faster, right? And you're seeing him leave his feet. And Luka, again, at his pace, at his time, he's able to see what the defense is doing and then act accordingly, where Ant is firing off and kind of guessing, trying to anticipate, oh, this is going to be the read to the corner. And he leaves his feet, right? And in turn, what's happening is you're seeing, as close as these games are, the shot quality has been much better for Dallas, in my opinion. And it's because of the way Luka is breaking down these traps, right? Where Minnesota, he may hit the skip and it's a swing and they're getting a lot of grenades. How many latent clock shots are Minnesota getting because Ant's either one, taking too long, he's trying to be patient, and it's almost in a literal sense, he's taking too long. Or once he gets downhill, if the pass is, at someone's feet, it's a little inaccurate. Now the rotation's there, then the swing's late, and it just becomes a domino effect of poor shot quality over and over again. But we also know this is kind of how it goes as far as the career arc for these star players. They don't usually climb the mountaintop the first go around at 22 years old. This is part of the process, him learning this, right? And I think when you look at Ant's game, some of this will just come with time, patience, and experience. But he's very inefficient in getting to his shot, right? There's been this narrative of him being tired. How could he be tired at 22? He's wearing down. Well, it's style of play. It's style of play. And you'll see him he wants to basically take 7 or 8 dribbles to get to any shot that he wants to and get to his spots. And not all dribbles are created equal. Again, back to Luka's methodical pounding of the ball where it's not using a ton of energy, right? He's just kind of bumping and going to where he wants, where Ant is sizing you up between the legs split. He's using a lot of twitchy burst to get to his spot. And then ultimately, it's still a difficult shot. And he has to learn to attack off one dribble, a lot more coming off the screen, particularly from 3. That's in today's modern NBA, when you look at the Stephs, the Dames, all these guys, that the one dribble off the screen pull up is a way to operate more efficiently and save some of your energy. And with Ant, you know what it reminds me of? It's very AAU like when we're talking about this generation of hooper, where you're playing in a pickup game or you're just playing with some of these young guys, right? When they get the ball, they're almost gonna wait for you to get down in a stance and set. It's like a dance. It's like, all right, are you ready? You ready? Okay, now I'm gonna try to mix you. Whereas opposed to the European style Luka and some of the more older heads who can't afford to use that energy, you may catch it and just go, rip through, right? You're using deception. Ant's gonna have to add an element of deception to his game, and it's just not there yet, right? And so he's constantly tapping the gas pedal. And then the other element of it is, listen, it's one thing to be in shape for 82 games. It's another thing to be in shape to make it all the way through the playoffs, right? And so there's another level of probably nutrition and training that he can take it to and learn this lesson from. But part of it is just style of play, and he doesn't get easy ones. And that's what you're seeing Kyrie do now at 30 years old, right? He's still a wizard with the ball, and every now and then he'll get into his bag, but you see he's catching and going right away, right? He's a triple threat. He's not wasting movement, and that's something that both Luka and Kyrie do that's real sneaky. I want you to pay attention in tonight's game, especially Luka, because we know he's not twitchy and quick. What he does is when he catches it with the triple threat, he waits for McDaniels or whoever's on him to settle their feet. He waits for their feet to stop moving. So then he's attacking a defender that's at a standstill. When a guy's kind of like moving their feet, keep your feet moving and chopping their feet, now they're quick, they're even quicker laterally, and they're able to react better. And he'll wait. He's like, all right, your feet have settled. Boom, now I'm going. Kyrie does the same thing, and that's why their first steps look so much quicker than maybe they even are. It's the timing and patience of it. And it's dope to see the osmosis of those two playing together. I was thinking about Kyrie, and it's like he's learned all these different lessons from these superstars he's played with, right? He learned how to be a pro with LeBron, right? And then with KD, it was like they exchanged bags. You know, they just all the fancy skill work. And now with Luka, it's like he's realizing the art of deception and how he can be even more efficient. And you put that together, and now you've got these two guys at the peak of their powers. And so as much criticism as I have for the Wolves team and some of their coaching decision, there's plenty of blame to go around. Ultimately, man, you know, this Mavs team, when you're dealing with two first balloters at the peak of their powers, what are you going to do, right? At the end of these games, it's kind of like, what you going to do with these guys? What you going to do? I feel for the Wolves fans a little bit, right? Because, I mean, some of these shots are insane. But let's talk about Towns. Let's talk about Karl Anthony and this redemption arc that ended quickly, didn't it? That ended quickly. You know, what's the saying? Well, you are who you are. You are who you are. Like, we all have the one friend that we grew up with that's just bad with money, right? Like, they were bad with money on ice cream day in grade school. They were bad with gas money in high school. And to this day, you guessed it, they're bad with money, right? It's an impulsive decision-making trait. It doesn't go away. It's just kind of who you are. And Cat has that. He does, right? Like, you're just like, he can't help himself. Now, that being said, I think they got to play through Cat even more, especially if Derek Lively is going to be out of this series. I hope he's not. But you saw the Mavs were very careful to say it was a neck sprain. No, they never used the word concussion protocol. Now, as of today, I don't know. You know, I would imagine he might miss this one, right? Like, he clearly needed to go through concussion protocol. But I think they don't have enough, the Wolves, they don't have enough offensive firepower to sit Towns or play him less. They need his offense, and he's definitely due, right, to get hot from behind the arc. And so you got to lean into it. But his decision-making and just overall, when you combine the inexperience of this Wolves roster with the low IQ of a lot of their players, it's so much to overcome when the margin for error is this small at this point, right, in the conference finals. Now, they may have to ride or die with Cat. In my opinion, they do. I don't think they have to with Rudy Gobert. And they've found themselves in a series where the juice is no longer worth the squeeze, right? In fact, he's hurting them, right? He's firing Luka up. They're calling ISOs on him. It doesn't matter who it is. And I think the narrative and the optics of the four-time defensive player of the year, it's got Rudy playing a little out of pocket. How many times have you seen him leave his feet on the perimeter contesting a jump shot in this series? It's like, dude, that's your Rudy's superpower is he doesn't have to leave his feet to contest shots and protect the rim. And so it allows him to cover all this ground. He's leaving his feet. And then we know, the Mavs know, like they don't really want to hit him on the roll, right? So there's all these elements of it. And I never thought I'd be saying this, but more Kyle Anderson, right? I think that's the obvious answer for this game 4 is you got to sit Rudy in favor of Kyle Anderson, who has experience and has an IIQ. Because again, Ant is learning on the fly, right? And then the two bigs, Cat and Gobert, they're just not very high IQ players. Their impulse and say what you want and that doesn't mean that they're dumb people. There's a difference with that, right? It's like they're just not smart in the moment in basketball. Because we all know someone who's dumb who's really smart within a game, right? Like it goes both ways, but it's just too much to overcome. I think more slow-mo is the desperate move that they need to make. And as crazy as this sounds, maybe more Nickeil Alexander and less Conley. I know Conley is the adult in the room, the table setter. I don't really care about the plus minus. He at this point in his career should be the backup point guard, right? But he's not in that role because of the lack of experience and IQ on the rest of the roster. But at desperate times calls for desperate measures. I think you need to lean into Nickeil and Cat, and they're both due to get hot, right? And so that leads me to my underdog fantasy picks. I want to shout out all of y'all that joined me and signed up. I hit my goal. I'm very humbled and grateful that you guys supported the channel, and hopefully you're having fun and winning some picks. And you know, here's my advice. Once you're in with Underdog, I'm going to be doing. Have you been watching WNBA? Caitlin Clark and them. I've caught almost every game. I don't know about Aaliyah Boston, yo. Like I was told Aaliyah Boston was a franchise player, but I digress. My advice for the Underdog pick'ems is it's very tempting to run, 4 or 5 pick multipliers, right? But if you play the long game and have fun and take, and make 1 or 2 picks, maybe 3, right? I've had more success throughout the season. I'm rolling and I started in September with it. But again, I appreciate y'all. If you want to join now, the link is in the description. My picks for this game 4, I've got Towns higher than 2 threes. And I'm just, he's been ice cold. What was he, 0 of 8 in game 3? He's just due. I know that there's not, that's arbitrary. I've got Kyle Anderson higher than 4.5 points because Finch, that's what y'all got to do. Y'all got to play him, right? That little push shot, like they've got to use him as a decision maker when they send the traps in the short roll, in the Draymond roll, right? And then for Dallas, higher than 1.5 blocks for Daniel Gafford. That is under the assumption that Lively may not play, right? And you may get more Gafford minutes, but I haven't checked that. Those are what I'm thinking of right now. Take one of them, take all of them, do what you will, Underdog fantasy. But that's my last point I forgot to make about this Rudy Gobert thing. It's been very obvious. You hear Barkley, the guys, Draymond, right? Everyone's like, hey, Rudy, probably got to get him up out of there, right? I think the reason they're so hesitant to pull him from the series is, big picture, they know they're stuck with him, right? Towns, let's be honest, is probably going to be traded this summer, right? You could sit him, all right, whatever. They're stuck with Rudy for the remainder of this max contract. And so to acknowledge that he can't play at this point, right? What does that mean, big picture, for them moving forward? I think that's why they're way more reluctant than probably they should have in a vacuum. He probably should have been playing less since game 2, since Luka's been abusing him. And he's not protecting the rim like they need him to, But again, they're stuck with him. So they're like, well, we got to use him. We're stuck with him. We can't pull him now. I think that's the dilemma that Finch and this coaching staff have been facing with. But yeah, man, I don't know. It kind of feels like at this point, it's like, all right, let's just get this over with. Dallas, Boston. This is the Kyrie storyline. It's gonna be a good one, right? That said, I kind of feel like we may be due for a blowout game. I've got a feeling tonight the Wolves might blow them out. I don't know. That's just my gut feeling. We'll see. But yeah, I think we're all looking forward to this finals now, that they blew that one. Anyway, if I am wrong, and even if I'm not, if it gets to game 5, looks like we're going to have about a week off before these finals. I'm going to get back talking about some Warrior big picture stuff, maybe a couple more trade targets or acquisitions here moving forward this week. And then you can catch the rest of my playoff full coverage breakdowns on my Patreon. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.